Hello and welcome to the Gaia update for April 2016. I'm Adrienne, Elise. Well, we start out the month with a very fiery energy. We have the sun in Aries, and on the 6th, Venus moves into Aries, and then on the 7th, there's a new moon. So the new moon means the sun and the moon are in Aries. We've got Venus in Aries. We still have Saturn in Sagittarius, Mars in Sagittarius, and then we also have Uranus in Aries. And so there is a total of 6 planets on this new moon in fire. So what is this saying? This new moon is a powerful time, opportunity for transformation, for leaping off into the new, for leaving behind everything of the old, and just an amazing thing, energy of shooting forward, because it's the completion of the eclipse cycle. So we had a solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse, and now the new moon following the eclipse cycle is the completion of that energy. And so what is this saying? This eclipse cycle, the spring 2016, it's about getting a glimpse and moving forward in a huge way, letting our life reset, recalibrate, and see a different possibility. And so this eclipse cycle has been really powerful, where people have been, this last month, people have been feeling and seeing through things completing, coming together from years of work, and seeing through to the possibilities of the future. And so it's a very powerful thing, this new moon in Aries, but also, when you see into the future and you see the possibilities and you kind of get oriented to a new way and say, yes, I think I can drop these old patterns, what happens is that it's also very clear, those patterns and what's in the way of us moving into that new. And so now 2016 is pretty much about how do we move forward in this new way, because we have powerful mutable squares happening, and the main energy of 2016 is the Mars retrograde. So Mars turns retrograde on this month on the 17th, and we've been feeling that already. The energy of Mars is our biggest, our most powerful action planet. So when Mars goes retrograde, we really feel it around the areas of being able to move forward in our life. And so the message right now is that huge leap forward into this possibility, the phoenix and the flames, burning off the old. But then we have to do the reality check. We have to come back down to earth, and we have to somehow work through the actual practical part of moving forward in this time. And we can't move forward when we don't know who we are, when we've kind of letting go, this Aries new moon, of coming into a new identity, of leaving all of the stuff behind. But then it's a little disorienting, and that's the whole energy of 2016 with these mutable squares. Now, right before Mars turns retrograde on the 17th, it has comes close, within 2 degrees of a square with Neptune, and it's really speaking to these mutable squares that are happening all year that have to do with Saturn in Sagittarius, Jupiter and the North Node in Virgo, and Neptune in Pisces. And so the squares are 90 degrees, and so they're mutable signs, which is the changeable signs that happen around the change of seasons. And it's this energy of trying to figure out how to move forward, but not knowing how. And so in this mutable energy, the moving forward is about continually adjusting, because tomorrow might be completely different than today as far as your spiritual growth, because things are happening so fast. So the mutable energy is about adjusting, but what are we adjusting? And that has to do with the tensions being formed between these planets. And so we've got Saturn, our work duty planet, in the sign of Sagittarius. And then with this Mars energy in Sagittarius, it's so powerful because it's about really, the Saturn is our other main action planet. It's also retrograde right now. And so it's like we want to move forward. We want to bust through. We want to get this work done of our spiritual seeking and figure out who we are, humanity. But Mars is a little frustrated. It doesn't quite get into that square before it goes into retrograde. And it's retrograde all the way until the end of June. And so this whole summer is going to be really about rethinking our way forward at every turn, because we're changing so fast, we're adapting so fast, and we're trying to make sense of this light that's come through this spring, this possibility, this energy towards a future that's way different than what we've been plotting through all the heaviness. You know, there's like this vision of lightness, but then it's like one step forward, two steps back, because we're having this huge leap into the potential of the future, celebrating that on this Aries new moon, activating into that energy. And then we have all this retrograde energy happening with Mars, our main action planet, going retrograde. And then on the 18th, the day after, Pluto, our big slow moving planet, goes retrograde. And it's kind of got this, wait a minute, Pluto is generational changes. And so generationally, energetically, collectively, we don't know how to move forward yet. We're still in mop-up mode. And now we're going to see that a lot, because just after these two planets turn retrograde, and we're already feeling that energy, then we have a full moon on the 22nd. Now that full moon is in Scorpio, at the very beginning degrees of Scorpio. So it's understanding a new start into the old shadow. And it speaks a lot because of Mars retrograde this year, it spends like 18 weeks. It's unheard of to spend that long in a sign, really. It's very rare, but in Scorpio. So right now it's in Sagittarius, it retrogrades back into Scorpio. So our forward motion, we're considering figuring out how to move forward by going back into the shadow. And so we're looking back at the last few years of that Saturn in Scorpio, cleaning up what hasn't gotten cleaned up, completely letting go of the ties. And so we are really in mop-up mode, adjustment mode, and the practical energies of how to move forward when you've completely transformed who you are, and yet your physical world, the reality of your daily life, still fits who you were yesterday. So this is the energy of this year, to be able to use that mutable energy for your benefit, to be able to be flexible, to be able to be unattached, to be able to move and go with the flow and let life start to move through you. Is this message of this Mars retrograde 2016 is that yes, you might see through to the future, but you don't know exactly how to get there, and there is some adjustments to happen. So now we're going to even feel this more, because at the end of the month on the 28th, Mercury goes retrograde, and the shadow of the Mercury retrograde starts in the middle of April. So if you have anything, big projects or anything major you want to get accomplished in this next season, try to do some of that this next 2 weeks and before the middle of this month. And definitely, because by the 17th we've got Mars turning retrograde, and so it's kind of this like sluggish feeling with all our action planets in retrograde at one time. So our main action planets, Mars, the warrior, male part of us that wants to move forward. We've got Mercury, our thinking, analytical mind, and then we've got Saturn, the karma planet, do, action. This is where our work is. And so the work, this mutable square we're coming back to, the work is karmic duty in Sagittarius. Our spiritual seeking, our understanding of authority, our understanding of the limits, our understanding of our knowledge, who we really are. So that's coming up with tension against Jupiter in the North Node there in Virgo. So our future, the tension here is between our spiritual, the work of our spiritual seeking, the future of our discrimination, and which is that Virgo energy, cleaning it up as we expand into discrimination. And then the other tension is with Neptune in Pisces, at home in Pisces, and this speaks to the illusions and delusions of the past age. And so it's really powerful, this tension that's happening, because it's saying that we need to move forward in a way, the way we move forward with that Jupiter and expansive energy in that sign of Virgo is saying that through discrimination, we've got the delusions of the past, and we've got the work of who we really are as spiritual beings. And so all of this is tension, but it's actually a beautiful tension, being in these mutable signs, being flexible with these changes, learning and growing and being unattached to who we are, because we're changing so fast, letting that Aries, that Uranus and Aries energy work as we feel all this energy, Aries energy this month. And that's potent. The sun comes up with Uranus on the 10th. And so we're really going to get a glimpse of that energy, all this fire energy, and then the sun coming together with Uranus. The sun, our identity, and Uranus represents our future identity, the age of Aquarius and Aries. We're remaking ourselves, we're rebirthing ourselves, we are being the phoenix, but then the phoenix needs to come down and land in this regular everyday reality and start to make the practical changes that can make our world align with the visions that we've seen through this eclipse cycle. So powerful, powerful work this year and whole 2016. Now, we're going to not feel this. We're going to feel this kind of how are we moving forward and reevaluating, and kind of maybe a little bit of, with all these planets in retrograde, particularly for the month of May, when we have Mercury and Mars in retrograde together. That's when we're going to be feeling the most of this kind of sluggish, I can't quite move forward, I can't quite figure out what to do, like that kind of energy. But the Mars retrograde goes all the way until the end of June, and then doesn't come out of shadow until the middle of August. So the middle to end of August is very potent energy, because Saturn goes direct, Mars comes out of its retrograde shadow, and then the planets come together in conjunction. That all happens in the second part of August, from the middle to the end. And so that's when we're really going to be feeling a completion of this. We're going to have a lot better idea about what it means to move forward in the truth of who we really are in this day and time on planet Earth right now. And so we're kind of muddling around in the muck with all this Mars and Scorpio, Mars and Sagittarius, Mars and Scorpio energy, and figuring out retrograde, how to move forward. So we've got this huge leap into the possibilities. Take the opportunity of the activation, the Aries new moon activation. If you didn't catch it live, go ahead and catch it on the replay, because it's going to have this completion of the eclipse cycle, the energy of transformation, the tapping into that vision of what's possible. Really, really important to set your energy field at that as we move into these next months of reevaluation, figuring out where we're at, and shifting and changing and moving around, and so that we can move forward in a new way and have that mop up in the fall as we clean up and figure out and sort all this stuff out. So this whole year is really an opportunity to shift who we think we are day to day, adjust, and start to let our world start to reflect these changes, and understanding the mutable signs are great for us to challenge again and again our idea of what physical reality is. And the reality that's been set in front of us, this is part of like those mutable squares challenging the delusions of the past. And then our forward motion, our expansion of Jupiter in the North Node in Virgo, it's about discrimination. So it's about seeing the truth. So the theme throughout this energy of figuring out how to move forward in new ways based on our energetic reset from this spring of 2016 really has to do with being able to look at the truth, being able to wake up to the illusions. And this is that Saturn square Neptune that we're going to be feeling so strongly during the summer as well. And so how do we figure out how to move forward in a new way, representing our new being and our new changes and our new possibilities, has to do with facing the truth. And so this is in our personal life, the delusions that the lies we tell ourselves, the lies that people might tell us in our relationships, the lies that the world has been telling us for so long about us being a slave race and poverty consciousness. And it's actually, no, we're held and loved by the universe, and this is an abundant world. So that's the ultimate reset that's happening this year in 2016. And then how do we take those changes to really make that reality true in this physical world, taking on the constructs, the programming, the delusions that we've bought into in this Babylonian money magic system that has kept us as disempowered slaves. And now we're seeing the truth of our gifts. We're seeing this glimpse from this eclipse cycle through to a feeling of being supported and bringing forward the most beautiful things we've brought through all our lifetimes of experience right here, right now. And yet we have this huge push forward with this all this fire energy and the eclipse cycle and the visioning, and then that feeling of like, wait a minute. If I just go forward from where I'm at right now, I'm going to end up with a huge mess because I haven't reconciled. If you're going to go and be the phoenix and you're going to be the flame and you're going to transform, then you kind of have to come back and deal with the reality of life that can't change that fast. okay? But we're changing that fast in our energetic field, and then we're here in this 3D world that is kind of like we're coming up against all this programming and all this structures that want to keep us in disempowerment. So our path into the future, our action into the future, is to clean up that shadow, of course, in this Mars in Scorpio, and to allow for the flexibility to let our reality adjust as we adjust. And today I felt one way this morning, and this evening I feel different. That's how fast the shifting's happening. And then 2016, it's about like, okay, let's get 3D reality on board, because it's no longer 3D. We're moving in higher dimensional frequencies. That means we can change this. It's not solid like a rock like they told us. Everything is fluid. Everything is energy, and can be changed faster than they want us to believe. And we're starting to prove that here in our own energy field, and then we're bringing it to the world. So thank you for being on the journey. I wish you the best, and just enjoy this recalibration time throughout this next few months. And it's a great time to be the fool, to surrender. It's not even about jumping off the edge of the cliff. It's just walking forward and letting the universe catch you as you trust and surrender to your transformation, and then heralding the way of a transformation in the reality of this world we live in. So keep up the good work. Namaste. I look forward to next time. Adrienne, Elise.